Hi class, my name is Gina and I'm going to be going over maternal child transmission of HIV. So HIV stands for specifically human immunodeficiency virus. It specifically targets and attacks the CD4 cells in your body. These cells have an important role of fighting off your diseases, so this causes a weakness in your immune system, which is not good. There is no cure for HIV, but it can be controlled. HIV is a virus, but if it's not controlled, it can cause AIDS. And AIDS is an acquired human immunodeficiency syndrome, which comes from HIV if it's not properly controlled and taken care of at bay. The people that suffer the most are women, specifically age 20 to 29, and men who have sex with men. And 20% of HIV patients worldwide are actually female. So there's some important facts that I wanted to point out when talking about HIV. There's an HIV prevention medicine. It stands for PrEP, it stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis medication. There's also medication when you do get HIV, and this is called ART, which stands for antiretroviral therapy. This prevents the HIV count in your blood to become so low that it's barely detectable with testing. This is what they call undetectable HIV, and it reduces the percentage of it being passed on to baby if you are pregnant. What I thought was interesting was when I was doing my research, I noticed a lot of articles on African American women, specifically how they feel in their emotional state when living with HIV. Which is interesting because one of the highest rates of women that have HIV live in Africa, and that's kind of why I chose to do America versus Africa, women that could transfer HIV to mom to baby. So if it's passed on, it could be passed on through the placenta, through labor, or breastfeeding. It causes women to have PTSD 5 times higher than the general population, and that causes a depressive state of mind, so it really affects their mental state. So when we talk about Africa, Eastern and Southern Africa is the worst, being at an 85 percentile. A major risk that they contract HIV from is getting married. As mentioned in our From Outrage to Courage book, I get a lot of my facts from specifically some of the chapters that we read in our class. The HIV/AIDS epidemic has created legions for orphans in Africa. In 2003, 15 million children on the continent had lost one, if not two, parents to AIDS, and this causes children to be abandoned or shunned out of school. It is not common in many states to have educated women. It's actually shunned upon. So since some women are so desperate to go to school, regardless, the way girls pay for education is to sell their bodies. The term sugar daddy is very known and common in Africa. Girls are so eager to pay for school, so they will pay for their fees through what they call transactional sex. And it's usually with their male professors or just older men in general. When we're talking about pain management, fatigue is one of the most common effects of people living with HIV. The second is reported as pain, just pain specifically. The pain is said to be for a number of reasons. Direct result of the virus is one. Immune suppression from the attack on CD4 cells is another. Risk of unintended infections because your weakened immune system is compromised, and side effects of treatment, and more. These people tend to report of more onsites of pain at once. So multiple parts of their body are in pain, not just one site. This lowers women's social aspect and quality of life because of this reason. South African women living with HIV do not complete their second level of education due to this pain. And for people living with AIDS, there are positive impacts to note, such as cardiovascular fitness, specifically exercise, to help their quality of life get better. So fortunately, American women or women living in the United States do not have the same reportings as African women living with HIV. It's not as prevalent. It's not as high, being that there is a better education system for our women here, and there is also better health care and more medical professionals and benefits in our country. So this helps the prevalence of this virus to go down. However, there was a study conducted with women in the United States living with HIV. This was conducted by Wall in 2019. The women that were neglectful with their care for the virus and not keeping it at bay with antiretroviral therapy, there was a huge report of miscarriages in the women. And if there was not a miscarriage, there were women transferring their virus to their newborns through the placenta, through labor, and through breastfeeding, as mentioned before. So there's something to consider, and that's the new HIV infections among women and girls. 64% of them are black and 18% of them are white. And when we look at the US female population, it's 63% white and 13% black, which I thought was crazy when I figured that out. Injection drug use is a greater share of new infections among white women as opposed to black women being marriage. These women are at an increased risk of contracting HPV, which is the human papillomavirus. The human papillomavirus also attacks the cervical, which can lead into larger issues, which is cervical cancer, and PID, which stands for pelvic inflammatory disease. 39,000 women in New York are living with HIV. So unfortunately, there's a stigma behind HIV and people with this virus, and this is something that I want to touch upon as well in my presentation because I think it's important to understand. If you do not have knowledge about a virus or something as serious as this, people decide to put their own spin on it. So there's like this stigma behind HIV that people don't understand that you cannot get it from close contact. Like people that think that you could get it from sharing a cup or drinking from the same straw, or somebody, God forbid, by accident sneezing on you. This is not how you contract the virus, and I think it's important to note that as well, that people that do live with this disease get those kind of things happen to them, and it's a depressive feeling, and it makes them feel like unwanted or shamed. And on the next slide, I actually have a video of a girl that's living with HIV. She kind of touches on it, and I thought it was important, and I wanted to put it in my presentation. So when we talk about maternal child transmission, according to the WHO organization, there are about 1.3 million women and girls living with HIV that become pregnant each year. We already spoke about how transmission occurs, but the percentage of transmission of mother to baby ranges from 15 to 45%. ART therapy is a treatment for HIV. However, ART therapy does not reflect the continued contraction of the virus. HIV women are put through services, pregnant women are put through services such as antenatal care clinics, enrollment in HIV care, laboratory testing for CD4 counts, ART therapy to try and prevent transmission to child. It is not recommended to breastfeed if you are living with HIV. Family AIDS care and education services, which is FACES, is a Center for Disease Control funded collaboration between the Kenya Medical Research Institute and the University of California, San Francisco, which supports the Kenyan Ministry of Health to provide HIV care treatment and prevention services. Over time, FACES program managers and national policy makers in Kenya began to recognize the missed opportunities and infected ethnicities in the vertical systems of care that separate everything. There is an organization that we learn about in Outrage to Courage, our book that we read for class, that's in Tanzania, East Africa, and it was founded in 1999 in Dar es Salaam with the goal of providing help to vulnerable women and children, especially girls, living in abusive circumstances. The group's mission is to increase access to quality social services, education, healthcare, nutrition, clean water, and sanitation for women, girls, and the youth of Tanzania. The group's ongoing work involves working directly with women and youth on economic and legal rights, sensitizing parents, teachers, and law enforcement officials of the rights of girls, establishing and improving social service facilities, such as clinics and schools, and promoting the elimination of child labor and abuse. It raised awareness of women's and adolescent sexual and reproductive health through a variety of initiatives, including public rallies to sensitize people to women's and health and right issues. The group has some success in influencing government to be more aware of the need of girls, and it has also implemented HIV/AIDS prevention program in the secondary schools, which reaches some 15 schools and some 12,000 youth. In Yogyakarta, Indonesia, the institute that was founded for women and children's studies teaches gender equality to children in their homes and schools by working with local radio stations, religious centers, parent groups, and preschool teachers. Part of a network of non-governmental organizations in Yogyakarta that focuses on women and children's rights, the institute directs its messages to both boys and girls with the vision of children developing strong and positive images of girls and women. Over the years, the Institute has expanded its programs, particularly by collaborating with Magnum Dizo, a popular television program directed towards rural children aged between 5 and 18. The program uses humor and facts to inform people about such issues as women's status, HIV/AIDS, family planning, education, and environmental degrading. The other organization that I want to point out is in Southwest Province, Cameroon. The association in Bureau was founded in 1998, and it works to end the practice of female genital cutting in the Manu division of Cameroon by offering scholarships to young girls from poor backgrounds in order to promote their education. It also carries out programs in HIV/AIDS prevention by providing condoms for the large number of sex workers in this poor area of Cameroon. The group encourages legal and legislative change by urging the parliament to eradicate the practice of female genital cutting, which is traditional in the Manu division of the Southwest Province. The Southwest Province borders Nigeria. That geographical fact, combined with poverty, means that sex trafficking and prostitution are especially widespread in the region as women and girls turn to prostitution for income to support their families. By making education more feasible and providing information about HIV/AIDS, the organization strives to encourage positive changes for women in Cameroon. UNAIDS, which is the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS, is an international organization that leads the global effort to end AIDS as a public health threat. The organization provides strategic direction, advocacy, coordination, and technical support to help catalyze and connect leadership from governments and continue to deliver life-saving HIV services. It generates strategic information and analysis that increases the understanding of the state of the HIV epidemic and progress that made at the local, national, regional, and global levels. The International AIDS Society is one of the most important ones as well. It was founded in 1988, and it's the world's largest association of HIV professionals with members from more than 170 countries. It educates and advocates for a world in which HIV no longer presents a threat to public health and individual well-being. After the emergence of HIV and AIDS, concerned scientists created the IAS to bring together experts from across the world and disciplines to promote and concentrated HIV response. Today, the IAS and its members unite scientists, policymakers, and activists to create the scientific response, build global solidarity, and enhance human dignity for those living with affected HIV. Last but not least, I want to talk about the World Health Organization, which is categorized as WHO. It's a United Nations agency that connects nations, partners, and people to promote health, keep the world safe, and serve the vulnerable so that all individuals can attain the highest level of health. With WHO, the Department of Global HIV, Hepatitis, and Sexually Transmitted Infections programs leads the development and implementation of the global health sector strategy on the elimination of these three diseases as public health threats. WHO develops global evidence-based guidelines and provides technical support to address public health gaps and challenges to these common three diseases. So with all the information that I've given you, HIV and AIDS is obviously a very serious virus and disease. It could cause major health issues. It could turn into multiple different things. It has multiple layers. But what I wanted to show in my presentation is that I wanted to end on a positive note with saying that there are always going to be organizations to help fight the things that we need to fight, and it is going to be, I think, always going to be prevalent. But it goes to show that there are many organizations helping to fight this, and you can live with this disease. You could have it at bay for the fact of just keeping it at that, and if you do the right preventative care, it won't go away, but it will keep it at bay and undetectable. And I think that if people find out early and get the proper care, it would be beneficial, especially if you're getting pregnant. So I think that this was very beneficial to me, and I hope it's beneficial to all of you as well, to know that there are many different factors, but in the end, you can live with it and you can fight it, and it can be prevented as well. So we all need to just take the proper care and note all the things that is mentioned in this slide. Thank you very much.